Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face. Welcome back to another edition of this Motorsport Manager career. We're back today with the third race of the season, round 3. We're heading to China for the Beijing Grand Prix. We're not actually at the race weekend yet, we're 10 days out. That is because once I hit this continue button down here, we're going to get the Formula 2 results for the second race of the season. Something we're going to take a little bit more interest in this season since we made a lot of changes to Formula 2. Increase the price money, increase the performance of the cars, introduce new teams, making it so that whoever gets promoted from Formula 2, we're going to see a really good team coming up. So we've got teams like Volvo, Polestar, BMW, Jaguar, a lot of teams there that will make an impression if they do manage to get to Formula 1. As it is, we'll just go over what we're doing with the car at the moment. The next race, the Tondela Grand Prix, the Portuguese Grand Prix round 4, is the first part of the season. If you followed my game before, there are certain parts of the season where I can introduce upgrades. The next race is the first race of the season where I can introduce upgrades. It is all to do with Aero parts, which we've currently got 4 parts ready at the moment. We've got a new front wing, a new suspension, 2 new rear wings ready to go in the car. One of these rear wings that we've got ready to go in the car is the best rear wing in the game at the moment, which should see us move above the Mercedes and Ferrari, who have currently got a better rear wing than us. We've also got another suspension being built, which is going to be done before this race. Hopefully that's going to be we're going to be able to get that reliable enough to go in the car for the Portuguese Grand Prix and give us no problems. Also, if we can get that done, that would be absolutely amazing. Beijing, meanwhile, it looks like it's going to be a rainy race. If you remember back to last year, if you can remember that far back to what we did there last year, we came first and third. Ocon coming first, Norris coming third, and Vettel in the Ferrari splitters by coming second. That was a rainy race as well. We had a lot of reliability problems with the other cars around us as well. So we saw some cars last year making 5 or 6 pit stops. Hopefully that's not going to happen this year, as I feel I've got the reliability issue under control with the AI cars. I fixed all their stats on their parts to be reliable enough in the early going of the season. So we shouldn't see teams doing 6 pit stops. We shouldn't see Mercedes wrecking their race by doing 2 pit stops to fix their cars and so on and so forth. Last year also, Alex Lynn finished 4th in the Ferrari. Charles Leclerc had an amazing race in the Sauber, getting himself up into 5th with all the chaos that was going on. But it's going to be a rainy race here. We've seen safety cars in the first 2 races. We might see safety cars here again. It's a short track, about a minute a lap. It means there is a lot of laps to this race, a 54-lap race. It's one of the longest races in terms of laps in the season, although it's dropped to 47 for some reason. We did 54 here last year. Why has that dropped? Maybe we are going to do 54, but it says 47 there, but we did, I'm sure we did 54 last year when I was going to look. But anyway, we're going to hit continue here. We're going to see the Formula 2 results. In the first race of the season, we saw some of the lower down teams, Arden and Carlin, outperforming themselves. But here we go, we've got Pietro Fittipaldi in the Toro Rosso, Marcus Ericsson. You've got to ignore the logos, as it's something I can't change, but Marcus Ericsson, who is in the Volvo Polestar car, and Nicholas Latifi in the BMW. So BMW finally improving here, although Kevin Magnussen seems to, no, Kevin Magnussen came 6th overall. We got Brendan Hartley, who is in the Jaguar car. Kyle Kaiser, who is in one of the lower down cars. He's having a pretty decent season at the moment. If we can try and find where he is in the list, he's 5th overall in the Arden car. The Arden car, obviously, storyline wise, they use a Cosworth engine. It is a little underpowered, and to see it beating BMWs at this stage of the season. The BMW and the Volvo have the strongest cars in Formula 2. Then we've got Nick De Vries, who is also driving for the Volvo Polestar team as well. Alexander Rossi in the Andretti. Nobuhiro Matsushita, who is in the Carlin, doing pretty well at the moment. And Antonio Fuoco in the Russian time is up there as well. Whereas Dan Ticktum, what is he? He's in the other Toro Rosso. That's 12th for him, the Red Bull Junior driver, not having the best of races there. And we see Jack Aitken in the second Andretti car is 13th. So who is currently leading the championship standings? It's Toro Rosso, who look to be the early favourites of regaining a place in Formula 1, whereas BMW have picked up a little bit now, see themselves on equal points with Jaguar. Then we've got the Andretti team, Infinity Dam's team as well. And then we see the 4 bottom teams, the teams that are a big manufacturer themselves, although Prema, backed by the Ferrari power, struggling at the moment. Arden doing pretty well at the moment, 18 points, equal with the Infinity Dams team, the Renault Junior team as it has become. But anyway, we're just going to move on a little bit here. Hopefully we can just get ahead and get this suspension built quickly. If we move forward here, William Honda Racing Team, we had a mail there, don't know what it was actually for, and we've got the suspension built. Lando Norris is now a club goer. He's got +5 to his marketability. That is a really good email, Lando. Is that because have you been out of the club too much? You just send in blank emails now with yeah, whatever, Lando. And the suspension build finish, so we can actually go ahead, and I want to get 2 new engines built because the 6th race of the season is where we can introduce power upgrades when we arrive in Canada, and it takes a while to get these engine parts built. So we're just going to go with the +20, so we don't have to worry about adding anything to the max performance, because there's already, what is that, 36 points to make up there. So if we can get this built, hopefully then we're going to start catching up to the Mercedes and Ferrari engines. Quite a lot of money coming out of the bank. It's going to take 12 days, then we're going to get another engine build done after that. Meanwhile, we're going to start working on the performance and the reliability of this suspension. We'll be ready 13 days after the race, so that should be done just in time for Tondela. So we're going to have all these parts reliable enough. We're going to have a nice new strong aero package, and that suspension as well is going to be the best suspension in the game. So we are going to have the strongest aero package out of all of the cars. We've got the best brakes as well. We're just quite a way behind, not that far behind as regards to the engine. The gearbox, even though it's rated pretty much average, it is the part of the car where we are the furthest behind. Whilst we're rated 8 for the engine here, there's not that much of a difference really, I don't think. I think the Mercedes engine is, I think it might be rated about 105 points better than ours. It's not that big of a gap, but it is quite a big performance gap really when you take it into account during the race. But anyway, we're going to move on now until the race weekend. We're at the race weekend now. Esteban Ocon's still got this dodgy net, but he's still going to be going into the car. There's no point even bringing Jake Hughes in because he's not rated anywhere near good enough. We're going to go with Alliance. We don't really pick up any money there. Both guys should still be happy with the car. Well, actually, let me click there. Both. Lando's actually a little bit happier with his car. Ocon was happier with his car last time. I'm guessing it's just down to what we are not actually changing up with the car. I don't know why it just swaps about, because we haven't actually worked on the performance of any of the parts. But as it is, since we've got quite a bit of money at the moment and we do have some spare, I feel I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade something here. It's going to be, what do we need to do? The brakes, which is braking improvement, cornering smoothness improvement rate, and smoothness consistency. And try to upgrade the HQ, not to build parts, but just to improve the stat rate increase of pretty much Lando Norris and Esteban Ocon as well. Ocon sort of stopping improving a little at the moment, but we're just going to go with this one for cornering and smoothness, so we'll get that built as well. It's £12 million, but we can afford it at the moment. So yeah, we're going to jump into this race weekend now. Practice is going to be rainy. Hopefully qualifying is going to be dry and nothing gets messed up there, but we should have a pretty fun race in the rain. But we'll be back for qualifying in just a second once practice is out of the way. Here we go with the first qualifying lap. We looked pretty decent in practice, so hopefully we're going to get a nice quick lap out of both of our cars at the moment. It is Norris's turn to go second in qualifying during this session in Beijing. So we'll see what happens here. It looks like, oh, they're very much evenly tied at the moment. Over 2/1000ths of a second between both of our drivers as we come through the second sector. Is that going to change here? 3.58. Norris is a little bit quicker at the moment. Ocon comes across the line quicker than the ART of Van Dorn and the Haas of Roman Grosjean at the moment. But behind the Red Bulls and the Ferrari, Norris is a tiny bit quicker than his teammate. We're still a bit quicker. That is Sergio Perez, who is in the ART as well. ART seemingly, well, they do have a better car because they do have the Mercedes power in their car. The Haas is powered by the Cosworth engines this season, which has seen them fall behind. Whether Cosworth are going to bring some engine upgrades as the season comes on. Obviously, Cosworth rejoining Formula 1 a little bit late to the party. Don't have the knowledge at the moment with the new engines that have been brought in for 2021. They're a little bit simpler. The MG UK has been removed. Pretty much as Liberty are going for in real life. That is what we're going with here. But after the first round of qualifying, we're 13th and 14th. Not the best qualifying session there, but we'll be back at the end of this qualifying session to do our second lap. Haas coming out early with Joseph Newgarden, but we'll be back at the end of this session to see if we can improve on 13th and 14th. So here we go with our second lap in qualifying. Somehow we need to improve. Norris is currently 16th, Ocon 19th. We got pushed down by all those cars that came out early. They're not out on track again at the moment as it is. As you can see, within the top 10, the top 9 cars are split by only 0.2 of a second. Really close between the top teams, but for some reason on this track, we are a long way behind. Whether this Beijing track just not suiting our car this season. But Ocon is going quicker, only moves himself up to 14th. Norris, meanwhile, is going to come across the line, moves himself up to 12th. We are outside the top 10 for the first time in a long time. The car, very aero, strong, heavy. I don't see it's just the Honda engine making a difference this season. I'm guessing it's just the other teams have improved. I'm guessing they've brought upgrades already, which is something I can't stop them from doing. I can't stop them from putting those upgrades in their car and following our sort of schedule of upgrades. But hopefully once we get our new upgrades in the car for the next race, we're going to be much improved. But hopefully we can improve on this during the race. But anyway, let's start our rundown of the grid. So here we go with the grid for the 2021 Chinese Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton parks his silver arrow on pole position with a lap time of just under 54 seconds. He is followed by Daniel Ricciardo, who won the last race in Doha. He is second on the grid in the Ferrari. The second Mercedes is in third place, Nico Hülkenberg there, followed by the Porsche of Max Verstappen. An impressive qualifying session from him as Porsche tried to find their feet in their first year back in Formula 1. Fernando Alonso gets his Red Bull into fifth place, and he is followed by Charles Leclerc in sixth in the second prancing horse. Sebastian Vettel constantly and consistently being beaten by his teammate Max Verstappen this season. Last year's Drivers' Champion Sebastian Vettel in the Porsche finds himself in 7th. Valtteri Bottas in the McLaren gets himself up to 8th place. Carlos Sainz, who looked odds on to win the last race for a very long time until, for some reason, Red Bull, they couldn't make that hard tyre go to the end of the race. They are on 9th with Carlos Sainz. Pascal Wehrlein in the Renault is up into 10th in, he's starting on the medium. It looks like the rain's going to be coming about lap 14. So these guys that are on the medium are going to be able to stretch to that. Everyone who's starting on the soft is possibly going to have to make a pit stop before the rain even comes. But anyway, we've got George Russell, who is suffering from a dodgy neck as well, just like Esteban Ocon in the McLaren is 11th. Lando Norris, our driver, is in 12th. Since we're outside the top 10, I've got a free choice of tyre compound. If you've seen the first two seasons, last season we had the 3 qualifying sessions where we didn't get to choose the tyres if you were inside the top 10. But per my own rules, if I'm inside the top 10, then I've got to use the softest tyre compound, just because that's what all the AI cars do. If I'm outside the top 10, then I have a free choice of tyre compound. But we're going to start on hard. We're going to go pretty aggressive. We're going to try stretch out to the rain. So Lando Norris is 12th. Alex Lynn doing well in the Sauber 13th. Pierre Gasly in the Renault is 14th. Esteban Ocon, still with his dodgy neck, all the way down in 15th here, almost a second behind Lewis Hamilton. Stoffel Van Dorn with the ART, pretty close to our car. That is 5/1000ths of a second between Ocon and the ART of Stoffel Van Dorn. So something really up with us and our car for this race. Antonio Giovinazzi, meanwhile, 17th in the Sauber. Sergio Perez, back problems for Sergio Perez in the ART. And then right at the back of the grid, the Haas, the Cosworth powered Haas cars, Newgarden and Grosjean, right at the back of the grid, still struggling for form here in the early going of the season. So here we go, the red lights are going on and the red lights are out, and away we go. Ocon gets away decently. If we can switch to Norris, it looks like he's away pretty decently, but Ocon has got a really good run on his teammate here. Looks like he's going to get through, is he? Pierre Gasly is right on their tail as well. So if we just look, the rain is going to come from around about maybe lap 14, 15, and it's going to last for quite a long time. So there's going to be 2 stints that we do on the intermediate, it looks like, as well, whereas Ocon is moving himself up the order pretty rapidly here, and Ocon runs wide just as we said that. And what was that? He spat up a load of grass there as well, loses even more time, really slow out of the corner as well. So we're just going to have to try and recover somehow here with Ocon. He's a long way back. Norris, meanwhile, that is the ART of Stoffel Van Dorn going past him there through the little chicane complex, and it looks like Giovinazzi might have the run on him as well, the Ferrari driver who is with Sauber this year, hoping to stake his claim much like Charles Leclerc did in that Sauber, although not having the impressive result that Leclerc did here last season in that Sauber. Leclerc scored a 5th place in the Sauber last year. He's currently 5th this year in the Ferrari. Hamilton is out in front from Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen in the Porsche is 3rd, and then we've got the Red Bull of Fernando Alonso in 4th place, whereas Lando Norris, we're the only car on the hard tyre, which might suit us because we're just going to play the long game here. We should be able to move back up. Meanwhile, we do actually have some room to actually push in attack mode since we're on the hard tyre, so we're just going to get that going. And we might as well try and get that going with Esteban Ocon as well, see if we can clear this ART of Sergio Perez, who is currently in front of us. Norris, meanwhile, has dropped down to 16th. Antonio Giovinazzi in that Sauber car has managed to get past us, but we should, although that Sauber with the Ferrari-powered engine might be able to stay in front of us here. But Norris, if we can just get this going, or pushing all out. I don't really want to push the fuel out because it'll compromise my strategy for later on in the race. I do want to try and hold some fuel back, and that is Joseph Newgarden. Overall, the best rated driver in the game in that golden, black and red Haas, getting past us as well. Look at us, 17th and 19th here. What is going wrong? Although, as we see, all these cars that are on the soft tyre, they should be a lot quicker than us, pushing all out on the hard tyre. So maybe we should just hang back here. We're not really making the ground up at the moment, and we're going to have to wait until these guys pit pretty much, and then we're going to try and execute our strategy of just stretching out until the rain comes. Obviously, Sainz, Verline, Sainz in the Red Bull, Verline in the Renault, they're going to possibly stretch out until the rain as well. We're going to possibly see that from Grosjean and Perez in the Haas and ART respectively, just see if they stretch out to the rain as well. So we're just going to have to really hold position here, although we should be able to get Ocon past this Haas of Roman Grosjean. We should have the power to get past the Cosworth powered Haas car here. Can we do it with Ocon? We get the run up into this sort of extended hairpin corner, and there we go, we managed to get past. So we're going to dial back now. We've got both of our cars one behind the other. Norris 17th, Ocon 18th, running the long game on this strategy, and somehow we really need to pick up some places here as Hamilton is surging into the lead here. He's now got a 2.5 second gap over his rival Daniel Ricciardo in the Ferrari. Verstappen still holding 3rd in that Porsche Formula 1 car. Alonso is still 4th in the Red Bull. Leclerc, meanwhile, in the Ferrari is holding on to 5th, the place he achieved last season in the Sauber. And Vettel has moved himself up to 6th. I think he started 7th place in that Porsche. Hulkenberg from 3rd has fallen down to 7th. Bottas holding on to 8th place. Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull is 9th. Verline in the Renault is 10th. George Russell in the McLaren 11th. Then we've got the Sauber of Alex Lynn doing pretty well here. 12th place for him. The Renault of Gasly, the blue Renault, and we've got Van Dorn coming into the pits already in that ART car. And then we've got Newgarden, and then we're back to our 2 drivers here. So let's just see if any of these front runners start to think about coming to the pits. It doesn't look like anyone's thinking about coming in the pits. Of the front runners, it looks like Van Dorn is going to be the first one in. We do have someone else in as well. It is Alex Lynn, who's pushed that soft tyre to its limit. He's in on lap 9, compromising themselves pretty rapidly here. What are they coming out onto? Another pair of soft tyres. It's about half that, it looks like, until the rain again. So they've got one pit stop out of the way. Are they going to be able to catch up enough on that soft tyre to sort of make this stick? Whereas it looks like if we get pushing now, the guys that are out on the soft tyre, they're a little bit compromised because they will have lost performance on that soft tyre, whereas we can just now get to pushing again. We might be able to make some places up here as these guys are struggling for grip on these used soft tyres. We start to see more people come into the pits as well. Everyone is going soft again, whereas we're just stretching out until the rain, and then we're going to see Joseph Newgarden is about to come into the pits. Although Norris, and did we just disappear into the car of Newgarden there? It seemed like Norris disappeared. Some Inception style racing going on here, but Norris and Ocon should be able to get past now as well. We do have some fuel to keep pushing with. We've managed to make this strategy work, just holding out until everyone was waiting for their pit stops. We should be able to get out in front. That is 3rd and 4th now we're into, and we don't have to make a pit stop. So we suddenly got ourselves into a really good position here due to finishing outside the top 10 in qualifying. It actually worked out for us pretty well, and so we just need to hold these positions. Obviously everyone like Hamilton is on a fresh soft, as is Daniel Ricciardo. Grosjean and Perez are going long as well. Sainz and Verline though, Carlos Sainz has put himself in a really good position. He should be able to... No, they've actually gone pretty aggressive still on that medium tyre. That medium tyre should have been able to do 14 laps. And they're a little bit under that. I'm guessing he's going to be able to stretch out to 14 laps, but it looks like the rain is coming about lap 16. Meanwhile, we know this hard tyre can get down to 0% before it starts losing performance. We're just going to watch it here for a little bit now. We've got ourselves into a good position, which is going to hold on for a little bit. We know we're not really racing Lewis Hamilton. He's on that fresher soft tyre. He should be able to clear us pretty easily. We're not really going to try keep pace with that. We don't want these tyres to wear out before the rain comes. So if Lewis does want to get past Esteban Ocon, Ocon obviously is still under the Mercedes umbrella. He's sort of on loan with us storyline wise. Whether he moves back to Mercedes or not is another question. When is this rain coming? It's going to be coming pretty soon. Have we got the room to keep pushing at the moment? We can keep pushing the fuel. We might as well keep doing that. Try and stay ahead of the Ferrari of Daniel Ricciardo, at least with Lando Norris, who is still ahead of Lewis Hamilton at the moment, and we're just waiting for the rain. 23% on this tyre. We don't want to come off this tyre before the rain comes. And we see those guys that were on the medium tyre, Sainz and Verline, they've come in for the Inter. Really slow out of the pits for Sainz. He's on a dry track on the Inters. He's going to be really slow for these first couple of laps on that intermediate tyre. Norris, meanwhile, has been moved up to first place. Now he's under pressure from Lewis Hamilton, who is on that fresh pair of softs. We should easily be able to get this until the rain comes. The rain will be going around about lap 36. What can we do on this 15 laps? So we can push on the Inters. We're going to have to pit twice. Or we're going to have to pit once, I should say, on the Inters. We are going to have to stop on the intermediate tyre. But 17%, these hards can go down to 0% before you start to lose any real performance on them. But Ocon, we've got about 2-second gap over Verstappen in that Porsche car. So we could be on for a podium finish here somehow with one of our cars, as we see the Mercedes and Ferrari get past us now. And the rain is coming. One more lap out of this tyre. We should be able to do that in attack mode. One more lap out of this tyre, and then we're going to start and think about, oh, we've got cars coming in early. We're not really on the crossover point. That is a little bit of an early pit stop, although it seems to be a little bit too early for me, that. But we're going to get in anyway. Intermediate pit strategy. Oh no, we still got Pappy. Keep forgetting to do the pit. We're going to go safe. Hopefully we're not going to have any mistakes here. And safe as well, but we do need to change the tyres. No point coming into the pits and not changing the tyre. Are we far enough apart that we're not going to double stack here? So we might just... We'll just recover fuel with Ocon since he's too close at the moment. I will burn some fuel with Norris, hopefully open up a 2-second gap, so we're not double stacking. If we can open up the gap a little bit more here. We're just about there. We've worked that out perfectly with these hard tyres. Are we 2 seconds apart? We're not going to really double stack here, hopefully. Norris is in, and a little bit of a mistake on the front right holds Ocon up. But Norris gets out, and a mistake on the rear right. That shouldn't have been a mistake. A couple of mistakes there on the tyres, but we can be really aggressive with the tyres now from this point forward. Norris is currently 5th. Is there someone out on track, or have we just lost position? But anyway, 5th and 9th. That is an amazing recovery. We lost about 3 seconds there. We would have still been behind here. We had one mistake from, I'm guessing it's Pappy McDermott. We just call him Pappy. That's what we call him in the garage, I presume. We just call him Pappy. Anyway, a couple of mistakes there. One on the front right for Norris, one on the rear right for Ocon. And luckily that double stacked, so that would have cost Ocon like 6 seconds there in the pits. So it's moved them a little bit further apart. Need to make a note, a mental note, a physical note to change the pit crew. It's something I always seem to forget to do, because we've got one guy that's really out there for making mistakes at the moment. Obviously we've possibly got another, well, we do have another 2 pit stops to go here. We can stay aggressive on the tyres at the moment though, because we know we do have to change. I would guess, do we even have to change? Let's just have a look at this at the moment. We're on lap 19. We want to get to maybe lap 35. 12 laps. It's a little bit too close, but I'm guessing that's what the AI's trying to stretch to do, so we're going to try stretch to do the same. We might as well conserve here for a little bit because these tyres are a little bit too hot at the moment. Not that hot, and we might as well just sit in these positions at the moment. We're not in sort of a position where we can start overtaking the Ferraris in front of us. And yeah, it looks like everyone's going to try stretch out and just do one stint on the inters through the rain here. Whereas we might have burnt through our tyres a little bit more than them. Let's see if we have a look at Hamilton. What's his tyre wear like? It's 71% at the moment, so we're a little bit better off than those guys. They're possibly... Why are they burning more than us? Sainz has really gone through that inter as well since he came in earlier. So we might as well just try stretch, and then if it doesn't look like we might be able to stretch through until the rain stops, then we'll push the tyre a bit more. But for this stint, we're just going to hold back a little. We're just going to hold back with the fuel as well, since we just sort of hold the position. We're going to save everything for one final push at the end of the race. Hopefully we're going to have decent pit stops. Hopefully we shouldn't have really made a mistake on that safe. A 15% risk, and we made 2 mistakes on a 15% risk. But we've got a fast Red Bull of Fernando Alonso coming up behind us now. Obviously these cars have all made 2 stops that started on this soft tyre. It's put us in a good position here to score points, considering what it looked like early on in this race, considering where we were on the grid and where we were after the start of the race. But it looks like Fernando's going to get Norris down the pit straight here. We're just stretching out. We've used 30% of this tyre over 5 laps. This Inter can go down to 10% before it starts to lose its performance. So if we can do that another, it's going to be another 10 laps. It's going to be a little bit too much of a touch and go at that point to try and do that. But we'll just save everything up, because I'm guessing when we see the Mercedes come into the garage, if we can just go a little bit longer than them, we might be able to pick up some places as this race goes on, because these guys are going to switch over from this intermediate tyre a little bit too early. And as we know, as we saw from Verline, and who else was it who came into the pits? There was someone else who went a long way. Sainz and Verline. The AI does like to switch over to the wrong type of tyre if it's close to the rain coming or the rain stopping. We might see that later on in the race. We might be able to pick up some time if we can start pushing our tyre later on. And you never know, we might be able to stretch out far enough just running in conserve mode. Our tyres are going to get a little bit cold. Nothing we can do about that. The weather's pretty cool, although it's going to start heating up as the weather again. If we do see this go down, we might switch back up into push mode for a little bit. But we'll just keep things going as we are. Norris, meanwhile, we don't have the pace here. It doesn't look like to keep up with the Red Bull, even by what we're doing. But if we can keep him ahead of Verline, Verline does need to pit pretty soonish. He's going to be getting onto another intermediate tyre, it seems like. Ocon has been passed by Nico Hulkenberg, but we're far enough ahead of the McLaren that we shouldn't be seeing any sort of real challenge from them. We're just hanging on to this intermediate tyre. Obviously, the tyres are going to get cold, which means once you do get down to the part where it's fully cold, you don't see any real benefit from saving the tyre. So from that point forward, once that does happen, we're going to get pushing again. Just because once the tyres are fully cold, they start graining, you don't see any benefit to conserving the tyre. You don't really lose performance, but you don't see any benefit from running in conserve mode. And there we go, the tyres are underheated now, so we're going to get back to pushing. And Ocon's tyres underheated. Did I miss his... No, there we go. Tyre temps are low, so now we get back into push mode for a little bit. And we're about halfway through the rain. We've used about half of this tyre. Obviously we used a lot of it by going attack mode, but if we can just switch, if we can just hang on here, we might be able to make a move when we start to think about making that final pit stop. There's going to be maybe, it's going to have to be a hard tyre. We might as well come into a hard tyre. The medium is going to struggle there, and maybe we'll see some of the AI teams go a little bit aggressive and maybe go for a 2-stop, because once the rain stops, a soft tyre will not get you through to the end of the race. So that is what we're hoping for here as lap 27 starts. Lewis Hamilton currently leading a 4-second gap back to Daniel Ricciardo. Their tyres are running down here, although Leclerc's done a good job of holding onto his intermediate tyres as well. But Ricciardo's at 28%, we're at 43%. Obviously we can run a lot longer in the rain and have a few more strategy options open to us here, as our tyres have now warmed up a little bit. So we'll get back into conserve mode. We should start to see the benefit now, since they're not underheated, they're not graining. Norris, meanwhile, is up into 5th because we've seen Carlos Sainz make his second pit stop in that Red Bull, going from a Inter to another Inter. We're under pressure here from Charles Leclerc. There's no point really fighting him. We're just trying to make what we're doing with these tyres work at the moment. We do have a lot of fuel, but we're really just hanging on to our fuel for the end of the race. But maybe we can get pushing here a little bit. Let's get pushing. We've been running a long time in medium mode. We've recovered a lot of fuel. And we see other cars start to pit. Giovinazzi and Alex Lynn coming in on the same lap for the Sauber cars, running in last place now, 3rd. And Danny Rick has a problem with his car. Ferrari must have been a little bit aggressive with some of their new upgraded parts. Obviously, as I thought, the AI bringing a few upgrades to this race. So we are currently running 3rd and 6th. What did Danny Rick go for? Another intermediate tyre, so he does have another pit stop to make. Whereas we're just going to try stretch out as long as we can. It is a very long time to go. So let's just get into push, since we're not really gaining anything from conserving the tyres since they're underheated at the moment. But if we go push and high mode, are we going to go long enough that we don't have to do a pit stop for an intermediate tyre? That is the question. Should we risk just going straight onto a dry tyre? From about lap 20, we're getting lap 32, it looks like the rain's going to drop off pretty rapidly. And it looks like we're going to be on the crossover point as we've got Charles Leclerc coming into the pits this lap. What is he on? 25%. That should be able to go a little bit longer. The Inter can go down to 10%, I think. Yep, we know your tyres are warm. We're just stretching out to get onto a dry tyre. We're really stretching out. Hopefully it's not going to cost us too big. What is our lap time at the moment? A 59, so we're still the quickest pretty much out on track. We're still quicker than a car on the fresh Inter at the moment. And we're not really losing time lap to lap at the moment. So if we can just keep going like this, we could see ourselves in a really good position here to get right back up there to terms of point. As in terms of points, we're 3/10 slower this lap. Well, it looks like we're starting to slow down now. It looks like the 15% mark is the crossover point. Should we think about stretching here? If we see us, no, we're actually quicker on the first sector there than the last lap. This tyre, if we can, we're gonna just stay out another lap, and then we're gonna risk it. We're gonna have to stay out. There's no point making a pit stop this early. We're gonna lose more time being on the wrong type of tyre for the track. And there, just 1/10 slower that lap, whereas Ocon is currently quicker this lap, running in conserve mode, than he was on the last lap. And there we go. Norris actually goes quicker. I don't think this tyre is going to be able to do another lap after this one. We're almost on the crossover point. 15 laps remaining. Could we make a medium stretch to the end of the race? Speed is 2.5 to 2. I think a hard tyre might be a little bit better here. I'm pushing it. Should we? Should we go hard? Should we go medium? Should we split strategies and see which one works better? Give Ocon maybe the pace of that, whereas play it safe with Norris since he's currently in a really good position here. We're going to go safe on the pit stop, whereas Ocon, he's going to be a little bit more aggressive with his tyre strategy. Well, not with his tyre strategy. He's going to be a bit more aggressive with his tyre choice. But hopefully we can have a decent pit stop here. We're on the crossover point almost for the tyre. For the weather conditions, it's about 25%, which is the crossover point. And there we go, a nice quick pit stop there. Hopefully that is going to work out well for Ocon as well. Nice quick pit stop there as well. So we can go pushing here with Norris. We might as well push for the first lap with Ocon as well. And what we can do, we might as well go overtake mode as well, since we've got a little bit of fuel, whilst we're sort of on the wrong, not really on the wrong side, but hopefully we're not losing that much. 20.5, we're losing a little bit of time. It's almost just on the crossover point. But obviously, is everyone else staying out a lap as well? Ooh, it looks like the crossover point's a little bit further down. We've lost about a second there. But it's what we had to do to try and move ourselves up. Obviously, these cars are going to come into the pits once again. We should start to see ourselves pick up time here. It looks like it's sort of slowing down a little bit, and there we go. We're starting to pick up time again now. So if we push with Norris, we don't have the luxury with Ocon because he does have to stretch. And Hamilton has a problem with his car. He's in the pits for a while here. He is. Something wrong there with Hamilton. He shouldn't have to fix parts, whether he's been pushing aggressively here. Norris, meanwhile, goes into first place. He's going to go high. We're going to go keep it in push. We're going to go neutral, keep it in high. Ocon sets a really quick lap there. First and second somehow here. We've managed to stretch this out. I don't think we're going to be able to hold this until the end of the race. We've got quicker cars behind us. But somehow, some way, we've moved up and it looks like we have the potential to go on and win this race somehow. If we go on to win this race now, that would be absolutely amazing if we can somehow get on and win this race. Ocon, meanwhile, can we hold off? It doesn't look like we're going to be hold off Carlos Sainz. He gets the run there. Ocon, maybe we should have gone for that hard tyre and we could have kept pushing it here. We just have to be careful that this can get to the end of the race. It's used 23% of it over 3 laps. Almost a quarter of the tyre wear. It can go down to 10%. So we just have to be really careful with it here, that we don't wear it away. And Ocon, meanwhile, is under pressure there from Max Verstappen. Are we going to see Norris closed down by Carlos Sainz here, who is on the medium tyre? Although we're holding back, if we just hold back, we might be able to come back at these two cars with Ocon, but we do know they are a lot quicker on this track than us. Are they closing down at the moment? A 56.7, almost a second quicker at the moment. Should we get to pushing, or should we just hold on for a little bit? Should we cool this tyre down really briefly and bring it down to the optimal temperature and then get pushing on it again? I think that is the best option here. Whereas we're just keeping things going with Esteban Ocon, try and finish him as high as we can. Danny Rick is closing on him quickly though. We're not really going to try and hold him up. Meanwhile, we're just going to let that drop all the way, this gauge, we're going to let it drop all the way down to being even. We should start seeing these, the rear wings damaged as well, so we're not going to really have much room to push. So we might as well get out of the way now. When you push the tyres, that does affect the aero of the car, whereas if you push the engine, that does affect the gearbox, the brakes and the engine, which are all seemingly doing fine at the moment. It's just the rear wing which is going in Lando Norris's car. Meanwhile, we're pretty decent for fuel to the end of the race. Are we going to start extending this gap now? Norris about half a second quicker than his last lap at the moment over the first sector. What can he do over the second sector as well from this lap? 1 second quicker than his last lap, which is what we needed here. And he sets a lap time 1 second quicker than his lap time, 56.6. So we are now travelling quicker than the cars in front of us. Do we have room to push the fuel with Ocon as he's starting to fall back down the field? Norris is on the course for an amazing win here from 19th. No, he wasn't 19th on the grid, was he? He was 19th at one point, or was that Ocon? Can't even remember. But from where we were on the grid, this is going to be an amazing result if we can get this going. I know we did fall down to 20th with Ocon, and Norris fell all the way to the back pretty much as well. We don't really have to look after this tyre too much at the moment. Of what are we? 3.2 seconds, 56.7. We're still there or thereabouts. I think we can even go back to neutral and keep things running here, whereas Ocon is doing a 57.3. So as we saw, the hard tyre, Norris, what he's doing on this tyre is a little bit better than what Ocon has been doing up to now. But we're going to start putting Hamilton under pressure. He's falling back here a little bit. Carlos Sainz is in a really good position here as well for a good finish. Once again, another second place for him in that Red Bull. Alonso's fallen behind, having to do 4 stops. Leclerc is there. Vettel in the Porsche is outside the points as well. Verline in the Renault is right up there. Ocon, we've just managed to do this race doing 2 stops. We've managed to really stretch out an excellent strategy here, especially it's worked out really well for Norris. It's worked out pretty well for Ocon now, but he comes under pressure from Fernando Alonso. So what we're going to have to do here now, we're going to have to try and look after these tyres, getting a little bit dodgy, and we're keeping this gap pretty much. We've gone down to a 56.9. Carlos Sainz is pushing on this medium once again, but he's going to have to be careful. If he gets close to us, he's going to wear his tyre out and try to get close to us, so we might as well just hold off for a couple of laps in what we're doing, whereas we're just going to try and see Ocon through to the end of this race. There's no real point pushing for these cars in front at the moment. If we can stay close to them, we can possibly think about doing that for the last couple of laps, but as it is at the moment, we might as well just keep holding on to this place. Alonso has he's got better tyre wear than us. Hulkenberg is in the pits as well. Again, Hulkenberg, Mercedes went onto that soft tyre. Why? It was obvious that was never going to get you through to the end of the race. Norris has now got a 3-second gap over Carlos Sainz. We can just keep going here, just a couple of laps to go. Ocon, meanwhile, his tyre's going. He's starting to fall behind Alonso. So we've just got to keep him going until the end of the race. It looks like we're going to be there or thereabouts for the fuel as well. And 2 laps remaining. Norris is going to bring this home. We might as well just go around for the final lap here. And here we go. Norris now 3.2 seconds ahead. He's going to bring that car home pretty easily. Ocon moves up to 6. Did someone else pit there? Or is that just someone else that pitted? Did we see someone else pit? Valtteri Bottas. Max Verstappen's pitted. Was it Max? Verstappen, has he just gone on to that soft tyre? He has. So we moved up to 6 now with Ocon. A lot of these teams, why couldn't you stretch a tyre out until the end of the race? Does my head in sometimes, the AI here. But Norris comes across the line in first place. We get Sainz in second. Ocon is going to hold on for that 6th place. So we get Ricciardo in 3rd, Hamilton 4th in the Mercedes, Alonso in the Red Bull 5th, Ocon 6th, Leclerc 7th in the Ferrari, Verline 8th in the Renault, Verstappen 9th in the Porsche, Giovinazzi in the points in the Sauber, 10th place for him, Hulkenberg 11th in the Mercedes, Russell in the McLaren 12th, Bottas 13th in the McLaren, Lynn 14th in the Sauber, Gasly 15th in the... Gasly is in the Renault, is he? Yes. Totally slipped then. Vettel struggling in that Porsche, having to do 5 pit stops, and then I think it was Newgarden in 17th place in the Haas, Grosjean in the Haas, and then we got the ART struggling in this race. They had a pretty good race last race, but struggling in this race, the ARTs find themselves in 19th and 20th. Scrutineering here getting underway. Shouldn't be any problems with the car. So there we go. Norris, an absolutely amazing win, picking up 11 places. We managed to stretch out and somehow do 2 pit stops there. The AI a little bit too aggressive. We once again make the rain work to our advantage. We get a nice gold trophy once again to add to our trophy cabinet. So that puts Norris into 4th in the driver's standings. Esteban Ocon 5th. Carlos Sainz moves up to 1st in the driver's standing, gets above Lewis Hamilton. Daniel Ricciardo in the Ferrari is 3rd. Fernando is 6th. And then we've got the 2 Porsche cars of Verstappen and Vettel side by side. And then the 2nd Mercedes and Ferrari, respectively, of Hulkenberg and Leclerc 9th and 10th. As we move on to the constructors, we are currently 2nd. Aston Martin, Red Bull running away with it at the moment, an 18-point gap to us. And then from us is a 7-point gap back to Mercedes. And then a 13-point gap back to Ferrari from there. And then Porsche getting to grips this season with Formula 1. 50 points behind the leaders, but they should be a little bit better this season. If they can bring engine upgrades later on in this season as well, they could be much improved. But it's looking pretty good for us. The teams outside the top 5 though, still really struggling for points. We've only seen a couple of points from Renault, McLaren, ART and the Alfa Romeo Sauber team. And it looks like Haas are going to be struggling here. So Joseph Newgarden could be looking for another route into Formula 1 after getting his seat with Haas. Haas will be hoping that the Cosworth team can bring much needed engine upgrades in the near future, but we came 1st overall there, which is pretty good for us. The chairman's at 100% happiness. I was thinking that this expected result of 3rd might do me in this season, in that we might be facing the sack considering the strength of some of the other teams, but if we can stay in and about 3rd, finishing 4th as well overall in some races is not going to hurt the chairman happiness too much. So we're on for keeping our job this season. £1.2 million coming out of the bank. That's quite a lot of money, although some of that is down to the race bonus. So there we go. Norris, Sainz, Ricciardo doing really well in the championship this season. Pit crew, meanwhile, let's just do this really quickly. 25% now for Pappy McDermott. So let's get him out for Coulson. Let's swap you. We've just got amazing reserves all across the board. Whenever we swap out, we can usually replace them with someone else who's rated a 20. And even on that one, yeah, that's 20. No, we'll swap you out for you since you're there. We don't really need to fix any parts in the car, so you can stay as fatigue drivers. Although, you know, we might as well swap it out. We might as well swap them out because we can do, since we've got a full complement there. And we see we're still 20 right across the board. Just an amazing pit crew that we started the game with, and we managed to pick up some more as the seasons have gone on. So simple question, which one of your drivers is better? We're going to have to answer one, because if you say I'm not answering that, you do lose marketability for your team. Esteban Ocon, who has a dodgy neck at the moment, so we're going to say Lando. You know, it keeps him happy. Doesn't lose any morale for Esteban Ocon either. And if we move up, so we went safe on that 1.8, which is only 1/10 down on what we did last race. 2 pit mistakes, which shouldn't be a factor for the next race, which is Tondela, which is where we can bring some aero parts to the car. Will have, hopefully, depending on whether any teams bring any upgrades themselves, we will have the strongest brakes, the strongest suspension, and the strongest rear wing. Not that far off with the front wing either, so we could have a pretty strong contender for the next race. Obviously, still behind with the engine and the gearbox. But that is where we're going to leave this episode. An amazing race for Lando Norris. Esteban Ocon doing pretty well himself, but an amazing win for Lando Norris, certainly pushing himself to be the #1 driver at this team. It's sort of with Esteban Ocon, they're really pretty much equal as in terms of what we give each driver, but Norris is sort of pushing himself a little bit further ahead of Esteban Ocon, especially with that performance today. But anyway, we'll be back tomorrow with the Tondela Grand Prix, so I'll see you down the road in Portugal. But until that time, goodbye.